Welcome back to Open Line, talking about the presidential race, the New Hampshire primary going on right now as we speak. We have with us Dr. Thomas Swartz, Vanderbilt Professor of Political Science, and a bunch of calls. Let's just go back to the calls. Let's go to Taylor. Hello, Taylor.
Ben, Dr. Swartz, good evening to you both. Thanks for the program. I've spent a lot of time in the area of Boston and southern New Hampshire and that area, and I might say that southern New Hampshire has changed an awful lot in the last 20 years because they have picked up a lot of people that move from Boston and commute back and forth, and even Republicans in New England are pretty liberal themselves, so I guess the word conservative doesn't mean much up there. But anyway, I am very much a conservative, and I've been totally disappointed in this race from start to finish, maybe because of the number of candidates, but I've really been put off by the lack of, or the way the debates and so forth have been held. It's just been back and forth. You said this, no, you said that, and very little questions going into the depth of the policies that are affecting this country. Now, back to New Hampshire. Kasich has been endorsed by the New York Times, and I can imagine many Republicans considering that a badge of honor, but
right.
Along with several other politicians and so forth up there. And I think he's the poorest of the candidates if you're a conservative in the Republican race. But I would suggest that probably Trump will win, but Kasich and Bush being the most moderate to liberal of the Republicans will be second and third up there. Myself, when it comes to Tennessee, I'm hoping Cruz makes a comeback. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, Taylor. Thank you as always for the call. That's interesting. So it's just always interesting to hear the different takes, and he thinks Bush is liberal, Kasich is liberal,
right.
And there is, and he hasn't been pleased with the debates.
Right.
How unusual are these debates with so many candidates in there? I bet it has been frustrating for many. What do you think about these?
I think the interesting thing is, of course, that the party was trying, the Republican Party, after the debates of 2012, was trying to change the process to make it more streamlined and also to prevent the sort of damage that Mitt Romney took in those debates, and yet the result hasn't been that. In fact, every candidate has been pretty dinged in these debates. On the other hand, it is a remarkable process, and it probably, hopefully, it'll make the candidates better. It forces them to think on their feet. And I think a number of them have improved considerably in how they answer. So I'm not as pessimistic as the caller is. I actually think it'll give the Republicans have a much broader range of candidates, certainly than the Democrats do. And in that sense, after the polls are in, they'll have a lot of different factions will have been heard, and hopefully maybe coalesce around one candidate.
After 8 years ago, after Mitt Romney lost, and he was dinged in the Republican primary, it went on for a long time.
Right.
And I can't remember, did it go all the way to the convention? If it didn't, it went very close to the convention.
It was pretty much settled earlier, but it went on long enough so that he was much more damaged. I think that the difference then, though, was that Barack Obama didn't have any opposition.
Right.
So the focus was on the Republicans, and so the attention was there. And so Newt Gingrich's attacks on Romney, Santorum's attacks on Romney, all had much more resonance. I think with both campaigns, it may not be quite as bad a situation, but certainly the candidates in both parties are going to be fairly dinged by the end of this process. I mean, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton have certainly gone at it much more now.
And I thought the Republican Party did more than just kind of change the debate structure. I thought they changed it so that a candidate would be selected more quickly, and well, it hasn't quite worked that way. No.
It may not work that way. We have to see.
Let's go to David. Hello, David.
Hey, gentlemen, good evening. I have two things that I feel very strongly about. One is the judicial system. I think it's too soft. It's like, the kids that got killed up north, in the schools in Colorado and everything. Because once they catch the person that killed them, seems like they smack them on the wrist. They say, well, something is wrong with them. I just think if they go down to where they should have been, put them in prison, get rid of them, there would be less crime because they know if they do something and...
Well, now, we incarcerate more people than any other country, though. So we put plenty of people in prison.
I really cannot see it because, like I said, you take the theater up in Colorado, I think.
Right.
When it came to finding the guy that did it, they did practice. Well, you can go to Paul Reed. Reed was supposed to die in the electric chair.
Okay.
Because of his sister, it never happened.
All right, well, that's a little different than what we're talking about, but I appreciate the call. Let's go to Marie on line 4. Hello, Marie.
Yes, hello. I wanted to say from my heart out that America needs a new leader. America needs something fresh, like Donald Trump, because all these politicians, like Clinton, all they want is famous to do whatever they want to do in the White House. Trump, with the Miss America contest, he got all the chances he can with women. He is a decent guy. That's what America needs, somebody to respect and somebody that knows how to make money so we can have a job, we can make money. If we get Clinton, all we want to do is sitting home all day and collect welfare.
All right, well, I appreciate that. So we have a supporter, a passionate supporter. Yeah. And I wonder, I mean, what we were talking about before, about how the Republican Party wanted to try and pick someone more quickly this time. And then you hear all kinds of different supporters all over the place. Yeah. We'll have Super Tuesday. Tennessee is part of Super Tuesday, and that is March 1st. Right. Is that right? Yes. March 1st. Yep. So we have South Carolina, Nevada, and then Super Tuesday. How big is Super Tuesday this year?
It could be very big. On the other hand, it might yield a somewhat disjointed result. You might have Cruz winning in certain southern states and Trump winning in others, and maybe Rubio winning in Florida, or this sort of thing. So it's not clear that it's going to have actually that sort of end result. This may be because of the nature of the divisions that have erupted in the Republican Party, which have been significant. The Republicans, some people have said they're at war with each other. There is a fairly extensive debate within that party. So it may be very hard to have even Super Tuesday end up solving or resolving the conflict. This one, I think it very unlikely it goes to the convention, but it could actually go to the convention in terms of the uncertainty about the nominee.
And what about on the Democratic side? It's quite an interesting contrast, and not as many options. But Democrats really, they're battling too. There's a real battle going on there.
There is, and if Bernie Sanders can sustain it, I mean, he has incredible fundraising capacity, and he has been able to keep that up. And Hillary Clinton has stumbled, so it's possible he could do what. You could see a replay of 2008 when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton really came very close to bringing it almost all the way to the convention. It was a close race all the way through, and many of the smaller delegate states ended up turning the tide to Obama. So it's possible it could last quite long. On the other hand, if Hillary could get some decisive victories, I think her stature in the Democratic Party might lead to Sanders not really having a chance.
And how does Hillary do in the South? She does much better. Not just in South Carolina, but on Super Tuesday, doesn't she? She should do better.
I mean, in that, this would be, if she doesn't, that would be a serious problem for her in getting the nomination.
Let's go to Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Yes.
Hi, go right ahead.
I'm just saying that this guy, Trump, he doesn't display any tact nor any diplomacy when he talks to any of these people that's in this country. Think about the way he's going to be talking to some of these other people from these other countries.
So you're not a fan? You don't think he would, that's not the way you're leaning?
No.
All right, I appreciate that, Daniel. Yeah, lots of calls tonight, which is great from people who have an opinion about this. Let's go to Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hello, y'all. I love politics. I love how crazy politics gets and how all the crazies come out. Right. And all I have to say is I'm a conservative, And my candidate of choice is Honest Gill, and I like somebody to vote for Honest Gill. That's all I want to say. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.
All right, Lucy, thank you for that. Let's go to Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hello. I want to address the anger subject that you mentioned a little while ago.
Okay.
On the Republican side, basically I'm an independent, but Republican is where I lean sometimes. It angers me that we can't even be registered as an independent in Tennessee, but the reason why people are so angry on the Republican side is because the establishment Republicans, they have for the last 2 elections at least have tried to get, quote, a moderate so that they can get the vote and win. And they do it all the last 2 times, and they have lost the last 2 times. We do not get to pick as a Republican who we really want. And the Republican Party has left us. We have not left them. They need to realize that their base is more conservative, more, what would you say, evangelical or Christian. And they've got to understand who their party is. And they keep shoving people like Bush down our throats. And Bush, it's ridiculous. It's like them and the Clintons are dynasties. We want something fresh. I don't particularly care for Trump, but what he's done has tapped into the anger that conservative Republicans have had for years. And we're sick of it. We're really sick of it.
I think you're onto something. I mean, that's very interesting. She says they try to give us people we don't want, and they're looking for someone who's electable, moderate, whatever it is. Is that a historical thing that always happens?
Well, it happens in cycles. The Republican Party in 1964 wanted a true conservative. It got Barry Goldwater. It lost a devastating landslide. Democrats wanted a true liberal. They got George McGovern in 72. They lost in a landslide. Parties' bases sometimes really do prevail because they're the activists. They're the people who go out. But the danger is that in a general election, there's just not a majority in the base, and that is and the establishment is partly trying to see that. The problem is that it seems that in this case, the Republican establishment may be too far away from the base, or the base doesn't really care about winning. They just care about having a person up there that represents their views. And that happens often in politics. Politics attracts people passionate about ideas, but oftentimes not willing to compromise to get them implemented. There's
been a lot said about the demographics of the country. Can Republicans win when you look at the new demographics of our country? And I think they're moderate, more mainstream Republicans who say we have to really be cognizant of this, we have to really be careful. There are others who say I don't care about that, I want the most conservative person possible. When you start looking at the demographics and its change, what impact will that have on this race?
Well, I think it has a massive impact in the sense that the Democrats have a decisive electoral advantage in some of the large states with groupings of minorities and others who will not vote for a Republican who wants to build a wall with Mexico or who's very anti-immigrant. So I do think the anger is understandable, but what it will likely lead to is political defeat. A lot of people prefer that in some ways. Sometimes people prefer political defeat with a purity than they do actually winning, having contaminated the brand. So the cycles in political history certainly show that.
All right, we have a bunch of calls, so I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to do nothing but take calls. So take a break, be back right after this.